bunnies, and welcome back all to Woodland Bunny, a cozy space to talk books. I've got my cup of tea and I'm ready to admit that it's happened again, and I'm currently reading 15 books. It happens every single time I get my currently reading pile down to 0 and then it just comes back up again. It's the mood reader in me, I can't help it. But today we're going to be tackling it once again. I feel as though this is just going to be an ever ongoing series because it's just a regular occurrence at this point. So yes, today we're going to be tackling all of the 15 books on my currently reading pile. We're not necessarily going to get to reading them all, but we're going to try still. Without further ado and too much rambling, let's get to reading because we've got a lot to get to. Just finished ᴍᴘᴇᴱ and I'm rating it 3.5 stars. This had themes of it being sapphic, told like a campfire story, a group of bandits, and mythical legends woven in here as well. It also had Snow White style elements too, and it was a quite quick read. I did find it so investing, and it just felt like a bedtime story, and it was very different to S.C. Gibson's other work that I have read, which was A Diary of Blood. So yeah, I recommend this one if you liked any of those themes. In terms of my next read, I'm going to read A Spindle Splintered, I think it's called, which follows the same sort of themes in terms of it being a fairy tale and it being based on Sleeping Beauty. So we're having a consistent theme here of my current reads. So I'm going to continue reading that one. That one's actually a digital copy that I have on my iPad, so I'm going to read through that, and I actually read quicker digitally as well, which is really bizarre. So yeah, I'm gonna continue with that one, then I'll check in once I finish that one and see my plans next up. So reading update, I finished A Spindle Splintered, which I rated at 3.5 stars. My overall thoughts are, if you don't read it too deeply, it's a really quick, fun, light-hearted read. It had themes of sapphic main characters, fairy tale-like-esque, being based on Sleeping Beauty. It also had other dimensions woven in there as well. And yeah, overall it was just a okay read, and it just read like a bedtime story, similar to ᴍᴘᴇᴱ. So in terms of my next read, I'm going to continue on with Vacuum in the Dark. I did read a little bit of it, and so now I'm 82 pages through, and yeah, I'm gonna continue reading it this evening after I've got changed into my pajamas. I'm gonna get cozy and I'll keep you updated. I just finished Vacuum in the Dark, and what I didn't realise was this is the second installment of Pretend I'm Dead, so this is following on from this first book, and I didn't realise this whatsoever because I haven't read Pretend I'm Dead, but I still feel like it read fine by itself, like as a standalone. I don't know whether like Pretend I'm Dead adds more context to it, or whether it's just sort of a different story entirely. But this in itself was so interesting. It was so unhinged. It was so brutal and raw and trauma filled, and there is definitely a lot of triggers for you to check out if you want to read this book, but it was just so crazy and immersive and psychotic and just, I think, unhinged. And I love narrators and narratives that have these themes within them. I think that's something that I'm really becoming to understand about my reading style, is I just love books that have an unhinged, unreliable, psychopathic female narrator, and with those almost like trauma and raw and realistic life themes brought into the book. It just makes it feel almost like a fever dream, I suppose, and it was just so interesting to be in this narrator's head and to try and understand life, and the dark humor in this made all of these trauma points and all of the raw and real and incredibly like heartbreaking and sad things just feel glossed over, and it just made you feel like icky, and it just felt wrong, and it just brought out so much emotion within me, both good and bad, in terms of how I was feeling about characters and themes within this book. And yeah, I really did enjoy it, and I rated it 4 stars. The ending I'm a little bit lost on. I'm a little bit confused. I feel as though more clarity might have been better, but again, with this narration style, I feel as though that would have been unorthodox. I definitely recommend, if those themes sound interesting to you, and if you have similar reading tastes to what I've discovered I enjoy now, in which is that unhinged, unreliable narrator with this almost like trauma-filled life, brutality of life and realness of life, and just being raw, I suppose. So another one read to add to the read shelf. So now I'm going to decide what book I'm going to continue on reading next. So friends, a little reading update. So first of all, I finished Interview with the Vampire. I rated it 3 stars. It was okay. I found I enjoyed the horror elements, but a lot of it was really monotonous. And I feel like that was the point, because it did have themes of obviously vampires, immortality, power, kind of like relationship dynamics in terms of a family, but also never really connecting to a family because it's like feelings with vampires. And yeah, I feel like the monotonous aspect really fed in to that obviously immortality theme, but it just felt like it dragged so much, and the endless stream of dialogue, because it was an interview, like the pages are just full of just dialogue and explanatory text, in which when the story is interesting, it's obviously interesting, but when it's their day to day, it's just, we've read this so many times over. And yeah, I feel like I say it's probably because of the immortality theme within this, but that's what made it 3-star for me, because I did find I had to push myself through to read it. So then next up, I read basically in one sitting last night, Icebreaker, in which I know this is just such a big cliche book, and literally from the opening to the ending, it was just every other romance book I've ever read. But what was different was there was actually communication within this book, in which was baffling to me because these books never have communication in. And something cool in which I noticed, it actually referred to the ᴏᴘᴘᴇ, like it actually had something about the main character reading the ᴏᴘᴘᴇ, in which I really enjoy when characters read other books and reference other books, because you pick up on it, and that made me really excited. And then it also had the title within the book as well, which is something else which is really minor and really silly, but it got me excited. But I just feel like these books are my kryptonite. I know they're not the best things, they're not the greatest piece of literature ever. They have undoubtedly their problems. They are so cliche. I was cringing at multiple points, but it had themes of friendship, a frat house vibe, sports to do with ice, so ice hockey and figure skating, and then it had commitment issues, and therapy was woven in there. So there was that little bit of heaviness there that had those relatable themes as well, of not feeling good enough, having commitment issues. Our main character was adopted, so she was kind of battling herself with her self-worth and things like that. So that was really interesting to add to that character depth. But overall, I think because it's just this one big overarching cliche romance, it did just live up to that. It just was a fun time, and that's why I rated it 4 stars. So friends, those are my reading updates on the final books in which I'm going to be getting to in this video, as I don't want it to be going on for quite a while. I have a few other things that I want to film before the Christmas season, specifically some festive things. So I'm going to end this video here, and I will most likely do a part 2, because I still of course have a few other reads on my currently reading pile to get to. But I hope you enjoyed this adventure, and I thank you ever so much for being here. I hope wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you have a wonderful day or night, and until next time friends, bye!